When was the last time you watched the news and it was just news? It was just information and facts about current events to educate and inform the public. There was no political agenda or political bias. There was no bashing one political party or maybe praising another. If there were two sides to the story, that news presented both sides. I don't know about you, but I can't remember the last time I saw news that was unbiased. So when did this change? When did the news become political? When did the media become political? Well, I'm William Webster, and today I'm hopefully going to educate you while diving into when, why, and how the media became political, the news became political, meanwhile looking at the effect that the media has on politics. So, according to allsides.com, most of the major news networks lean either left or right or are very heavy left or right. There are very few of the large networks that are center, very few. So, this would be a big reason why our news is political. Our news comes with a perspective of left or right instead of just being facts, instead of just being news. Most of our networks are pushing a political agenda as they deliver their version of the news. See, the news and media used to operate under a strict set of rules that was based on media ethics. According to National Archives, the FCC in 1949 enacted what was called the Fairness Doctrine. See, they were worried that the large networks of NBC, ABC, and CBS would misuse their monopoly to push a politically driven public agenda. So, what the Fairness Doctrine did, it mandated that broadcast networks devote time for contrasting views for issues of public importance. Now, at that time, it was viewed as the basic standard of fairness. Congress supported this doctrine of fairness, the FCC regulated it, the Supreme Court upheld it. National Archives goes on to say that by the 1970s, the FCC considered the Fairness Doctrine to be the single most important requirement of operation in public interest. By 1987, many felt that the Fairness Doctrine violated the freedom of speech from the First Amendment of the Constitution. So in 1987, according to the Science Survey, the Fairness Doctrine ended. See, an FCC chairman by the name of Mark Fowler had served on Reagan's presidential campaign. Well, Mark Fowler released a report stating that the Fairness Doctrine violated the First Amendment of free speech. Congress fought the FCC on this. Congress passed a bill that kept the Fairness Doctrine in place and kept it enacted. Well, Reagan didn't like this, and Reagan vetoed the bill. So the Fairness Doctrine went away in 1987 under the Ronald Reagan presidency. See, the media was for Reagan during this time. So he wanted the media to be able to report one sided views and push his agenda and not be mandated to show both sides. The science survey goes on to say that in 1987, the Fairness Doctrine was repealed with a unanimous vote of 4-0. In 2011, all conditions of the doctrine were lifted. So since 2011, news has been able to be reported with bias or without political bias at the discretion of the news broadcasting company. So since then, the news became politically biased. United States news, as we know it, has become very partisan. So far, we've talked about the effects that politics have on the media. But what about the effects that the media has on politics? The news has become so distrusted. We are just so used to heavily biased news daily. Most news nowadays is created with the intent to get clicks or likes or follows on social media. But does that impact politics? According to the content strategists, 80% of United States adults believe that social channels impact policy decisions, with 30% of that 80 believing that the impact is significant. Those high percentages make sense because there's so many people that do get their news from social media. The University of Oregon website says that 62% of US adults get their news from social media. And this is a visual representation of the users on each site, the percentage of those users who get their news from that site. A high 70% of users on Reddit get their news from Reddit, along with 66% from Facebook, and so on. Social media has become very influential in many people's lives. It is the source of their news, or at least the main source of their news. It shows you what you want to see or what they think you want to see based on an algorithm that pays attention to your likes, clicks, follows. Basically, most of your pages on social media show you what you want to see, whether that information is accurate or not. It doesn't show you news. It doesn't show you facts. It shows you what it thinks you want to see. And a lot of that would follow a political agenda, left or right. America has become politically divided, and the media contributes to this divide. They tell you what you want to hear in order for you to be on their political side. The media spoon feeds you whatever information they think it's going to take to get a vote for their political party out of you. What this does, it creates us as a society. It causes us to be misinformed, uneducated, and to make decisions that maybe don't reflect what we want to be represented as. So when election time comes, we are not a well informed society that can make a good decision at election time. There's a few actions that we need to take to fix this political struggle. We should be holding networks and broadcasting stations responsible for reporting accurate information to inform the public and educate the public of current events and news, rather than pushing political agendas on every broadcast. Maybe we need to look at a new revised fairness doctrine to give both sides the opportunity to speak to a public issue. Regardless of how we go about doing this, we need to get the political agendas and political bias out of news. I hope you stand with me on this.